This story is titled, "He Dumped Me Because I Didn't Fit the Aesthetic of His Travel Blog." So I sent all his nude beach photos to his church group. Now he posts Bible verses with no captions. Okay, so picture this shit. My ex, who used to spread his cheeks for artistic nude photography in Greece, is now posting daily Bible verses on Instagram. No captions. No context. Just straight up psalms and shit. And every time I see one, I absolutely lose it laughing because I know exactly why, and holy hell, do I mean holy. But let me start from the beginning, because this is the kind of bad hit crazy story that needs proper context. 8 months ago, I, 26F, made the cosmic mistake of dating Jake, 29M. Imagine if a TikTok aesthetic board gained sentience and decided to wear a beret. No, I'm not kidding about the beret. This man walked into my Seattle coffee shop wearing one in July, and instead of running for the hills like any sane person, I actually thought it was cute. Spoiler alert, past me was a fucking idiot. Jake ran this travel blog called Wanderlust and Raw Reality. I know. I'm cringing too. Think less, authentic travel experiences, and more. Here's my ass crack in front of the Coliseum. This dude had somehow convinced 15K followers that taking shirtless yoga poses in front of sacred temples was exploring cultural boundaries. The comments section was wild. Karen from Minnesota thinking Jake's downward dog in Bali was breaking down cultural barriers. Ma'am, the only thing he's breaking down is public decency laws. Look, I'll admit it, the sex was great, and when he wasn't busy adjusting his man bun or calculating the golden ratio for his Instagram grid, Jake could actually be charming. But Jesus Christ on a paddleboard, the photo shoots. You haven't lived until you've held a reflector for 45 minutes while your boyfriend tries to capture the perfect candid moment of him pensively staring at a seagull. The seagull had better things to do. I should have followed its example. So anyway, everything was fine-ish, until he invited me on his European tour. I was actually excited. I mean, free trip to Europe, right? Wrong. 2 weeks before the trip, this human embodiment of a kinfolk magazine sits me down at some pretentious vegan cafe where they charge you extra for normal milk. "Sarah," he says, stirring his $9 matcha latte like he's about to tell me someone died, "your aesthetic is compromising my brand integrity." I wish I was making this up. This man, who once did a naked handstand against an ancient olive tree until the local police came, told me my red hair and tattoos were too loud for his neutral palate. My laugh was apparently drowning out his subtle, contemplative content. I sat there wondering if I could get away with murder if I made it look aesthetic enough for his feed. But here's the thing you didn't know. The thing that makes this story so fucking beautiful it brings tears to my eyes. While Mr. Authentic was busy curating his feed, I had full access to his entire photo library, including the ones that never made it to the blog. And his secret church group. Oh yeah, plot twist. His very conservative church group was about to get a whole new perspective on their favorite youth group leader. I know what you're thinking. Don't Christian shame the man. But trust me, if you knew what this hypocritical sunset chaser did next, you'd be reaching for the popcorn too. Because this story? It's about to get biblical. So remember how I mentioned Jake's secret church group? Well, buckle up, Buttercup, because this is where it gets good. See, what his Instagram followers didn't know, and what I only discovered by accidentally opening the wrong Gmail tab on his laptop. Pro tip: maybe don't save your password when you're hiding a whole ass second life. Was that our favorite nude yoga enthusiast was also Brother Jacob, youth ministry leader at the New Light Christian Fellowship. And not just any church, we're talking full-on Harry Potter is a gateway to Satanism level of conservative. The kind where women's shoulders are considered PG-13. The absolute gold of it all? While Jake was posting ethereal shots of his sacred meditation practice in Thailand, read him doing naked headstands on a beach, he was also sending weekly devotional newsletters to the church youth group about the dangers of worldly temptations. I'm not kidding. I found an email draft where he warned teens about the spiritual dangers of Instagram. Instagram, the platform where his bare ass had more screen time than his face. But wait, it gets better. Every Sunday, Brother Jacob would lead the young adult group in discussions about maintaining purity in the digital age. Meanwhile, his camera roll had enough nudity to make OnlyFans blush. There was this one series of photos from a private beach in Croatia where he's literally wearing nothing but a coconut emoji. I guess that's one way to interpret God made man in his image. The hypocrisy was so thick you could spread it on communion bread. But I might have let it all slide. Might have, if he hadn't gone full sanctimonious asshat after our breakup. This man had the audacity to text me, "I'm praying for your soul, Sarah. Your lifestyle choices reflect a deeper spiritual void." My lifestyle choices? Sorry, but last time I checked, My tattoos weren't the ones doing naked sun salutations at UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Then came the Instagram posts. He started sharing these super vague, holier-than-thou quotes about finding salvation and leaving darkness behind. He even had the nerve to post about modesty in the modern world, with a throwback photo where you could totally see his nipple peeking out behind a strategically placed lotus flower. The cherry on top? He added my mom on Facebook and sent her a message about being concerned for my spiritual journey. My MOM. The woman who still has my macaroni art from 2nd grade and thinks I'm basically a saint because I helped her set up her Netflix account. That's when I knew. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about justice. Biblical justice, if you will. Because if Brother Jacob wanted to play holy man, then by God, pun absolutely intended, I was going to make sure his congregation got the full picture of their spiritual leader. And I do mean full picture. The best part? I had recently completed a certification in digital marketing. You know what they teach you in digital marketing? How to make sure your content reaches exactly the right audience. And boy, did I have some content to share. But here's where it gets really interesting. Before I could execute my master plan, Jake did something so monumentally stupid, so absolutely wild, that it made my revenge plot look like a Sunday school picnic. Remember how I said Jake did something so monumentally stupid it made my revenge plot look tame? Well, grab your popcorn, because this is where shit hits the fan. Or should I say, where shit hits the church bulletin board. 2 weeks after our breakup, I'm scrolling through Instagram, minding my own business, when I see Jake's latest post. It's a photo of him with his new girlfriend, Emma, 24F, some blonde yoga instructor who looks like she was manifested straight out of a Reformation catalog. But it's not the photo that made me drop my phone into my coffee. It's the caption. God works in mysterious ways. Sometimes he has to remove the thorns so the true flowers can bloom. Hashtag blessed, hashtag divine timing, hashtag purity culture. That's right. This coconut-wearing hypocrite just called me a thorn. And if that wasn't clear enough, he went on in the comments, responding to his church friends. Yes, sometimes God tests us with people who lead us astray, but he always provides a path back to righteousness. Emma's pure spirit is such a blessing after the darkness I endured. The darkness he endured? I helped this man apply aloe vera to his sunburned ass in Croatia. I held his hand through an existential crisis when his favorite filter got discontinued. But wait, it gets worse. He turned our relationship into his testimony. The testimony. You know, that thing where Christians share their coming back to Jesus story? Yeah, apparently, I was his rock bottom. His cautionary tale. His before picture in his spiritual transformation PowerPoint. He started doing speaking engagements at other churches in the area. From Wanderlust to Wonder, a story of redemption. Someone from my yoga class attended one. Small town, everyone knows everyone, and told me he literally used my tattoos as a metaphor for permanent marks of worldly desires. He even brought up my red hair as a symbol of rebellion. Rebellion. It's L'Oreal, you sanctimonious sunset chaser, not the mark of the beast. The final straw? He created a whole-ass YouTube video titled, Dating a Non-Believer, My Journey Back to Faith. It got picked up by some Christian influencer network and went semi-viral in the local church community. My own cousin's Bible study group watched it for their Modern Temptations discussion. That night, I sat in my apartment, staring at my laptop screen, my hands shaking with a mix of rage and hurt that I didn't even know was possible. This wasn't just about dumping me anymore. This wasn't even about the aesthetic bullshit. This was about trying to destroy my reputation in our community, turning me into some sort of spiritual succubus who led poor, innocent brother Jacob astray with my devil red hair and my sinful tattoos. Well, you know what they say. If they're going to make you the villain, might as well give them a show they'll never forget. I opened his photo archive, which I still had access to because Mr. Spiritual Journey never changed his cloud password. As I scrolled through hundreds of his artistic nude photos, a plan started forming in my mind. If Jake wanted to talk about testimony, I had some pretty compelling evidence of my own to share. But first, I needed to do some research. Because if you're going to go nuclear on a holy hypocrite, you better make damn sure your aim is perfect. And thanks to my marketing background and his terrible password habits, Jesus 123. Really, Jake? I had everything I needed to make this revenge absolutely divine. Remember when I said my digital marketing certification would come in handy? Oh honey, this is where being a petty bitch with technical skills pays off. First step, I created an Instagram account called @AuthenticTravelTruths. Profile pic? A sunset, obviously. Bio? Embracing real bodies, real travels, real authenticity. The irony was chef's kiss. Now, here's where my marketing expertise made this revenge extra spicy. You know how Facebook said targeting is creepily specific? Well, I created an ad campaign targeting people aged 18 to 65 who followed Christian content, lived within 25 miles of our church, and had interests in youth ministry and Bible study. Cost me about $200, but watching Jake's world implode? Priceless. The ad itself? Pure art. I picked his most artistic shots, the ones where he's basically auditioning for a nudist colony. But here's the genius part. I paired them with his own spiritual quotes from his church newsletters. Picture this: Jake's bare ass on a Greek beach, captioned with his own words, "Your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. How are you honoring your temple today?" Another one showed him doing naked yoga on a cliff. Seriously, who does that? Paired with his quote about bearing your soul before God. The cognitive dissonance was magnificent. But my absolute masterpiece? A collage of his most risque shots with the caption, "Don't be ashamed of your body. God made it. Just ask Brother Jacob, your youth ministry leader, about embracing your natural state." Swipe up for more spiritual guidance. The ad went live on a Wednesday night, right before his weekly youth group meeting. By Thursday morning, all hell broke loose, and I mean that in the most biblical sense possible. The church's Facebook group exploded. Karen from the prayer circle was disgusted and appalled. Betty from the bake sale committee needed emergency prayer warriors. The youth group parents' WhatsApp chat, which my cousin's in, was having a complete meltdown. Someone even called an emergency deacons meeting. But I wasn't done. Oh no. While everyone was clutching their pearls over the Instagram ads, I had one final card to play. Remember that church group email list I found in his Gmail? Well, I created a heartfelt email about transparency in ministry. Attached were all his nude beach photos, tastefully organized in a Google Drive folder titled Brother Jacob's Ministry of Truth. The email went out to the entire congregation at 3 a.m. Sunday morning, perfectly timed so no one could stop it before the 9 a.m. service. Subject line? Letty who is without sin cast the first coconut emoji. I heard from my cousin that when Jake walked into church that morning, the entire front row of elderly ladies turned their heads so fast you could hear pearls rattling. Pastor Mike had to call an emergency congregation meeting, which is Christian speak for, "Holy shit, we have a situation." The best part? Jake couldn't even deny it was him. His distinctive blessed tattoo, the irony, was visible in most shots. The same tattoo he'd been covering with long-sleeved shirts at church all this time. But just when I thought my revenge was complete, something even better happened. Something I couldn't have planned if I tried. Because sometimes, the Lord really does work in mysterious ways. The Sunday service after my email blast was better than any reality show Netflix could ever produce. My cousin Linda live-streamed the whole meltdown to me via FaceTime from the back pew. Bless her messy soul. Pastor Mike called Jake to the front of the church, not the pulpit, mind you, because apparently they didn't want his naked yoga energy anywhere near the sacred podium. Jake stood there in his cream-colored church sweater, the one he specifically bought to look pure and wholesome, looking like a constipated cherub. "Brother Jacob," Pastor Mike began, his voice doing that scary calm thing that makes you wish for the yelling instead. "Would you care to explain to the congregation why Sister Martha's prayer group received photographs of you compromising the sanctity of various European landmarks?" Sister Martha, the 78-year-old warrior for Christ who'd been clutching her King James Bible like a weapon, stood up and yelled, "I saw your bottom in front of the Sistine Chapel." The Sistine Chapel. I swear I heard her blood pressure rising through the phone. Jake tried to save himself. Oh boy, did he try. "These photos were from my past life," he stammered, "before I found salvation. They were private expressions of artistic freedom." That's when Emma, his pure spirit girlfriend, jumped up from the front row. "Artistic freedom? The timestamp on those photos is from last month. You told me you were doing mission work in Croatia." The church erupted like someone had announced that Satan was now doing the bake sale. Deacon Bob was waving his iPad around screaming about the coconut emoji being a symbol of moral decay. The youth group kids were trying not to laugh while their parents covered their eyes. Someone started speaking in tongues. I'm pretty sure it was just random syllables, but at this point, who could tell? Then came the coup de grace. Mrs. Peterson, who ran the church's social media, stood up with her phone. He's still getting paid subscriptions on his private travel blog. I found the link in the photos metadata. Side note, I might have made sure that little detail was easy to find. Thank you, digital marketing course. Pastor Mike's face went through all 5 stages of grief in about 10 seconds. Then he did something I didn't think was possible in a Baptist church. He used the Lord's name in vain. Quietly, but still. Jake had broken Pastor Mike. The church council vote was unanimous. Jake was not just banned from youth ministry. He was invited to seek spiritual guidance elsewhere. In Christian speak, that's like being told, "Bless your heart. but with eternal damnation vibes. But here's where it gets scary good. As Jake was walking out, face redder than my supposedly sinful hair, he stopped dead in his tracks. I could see the exact moment it hit him. The photos, the timing, the targeted ads that somehow reached every church member's Facebook feed. His head snapped up, and he whispered something that Linda could barely hear. Sarah. Oh yes, sunshine. He figured it out. Within hours, my phone exploded with messages from him. You evil, vindictive witch. You've ruined everything. I'm going to destroy you like you destroyed me. You have no idea what's coming. Each message more unhinged than the last. Seems like Brother Jacob's pure spirit mask was cracking faster than his Instagram filter. And let me tell you, what came next? Even I wasn't prepared for how far he'd go to get his revenge. So remember those threatening messages? Turns out our spiritual warrior decided to take his crusade offline. At 11 p.m. on a Tuesday night, I heard aggressive knocking on my apartment door. I checked my Ring camera, best $100 I ever spent, and there he was, Brother Jacob himself, minus the cream sweater, plus what looked like 3 days of angry stubble. Sarah, open this door right now. He was doing that weird whisper shouting thing people do when they're trying to be threatening, but also don't want to disturb the neighbors. Too late for that, buddy. I sat on my couch, calmly sipping my wine and watching him through the Ring app like it was the season finale of my favorite show. He kept alternating between aggressive knocking and hissing threats through the mail slot. You've ruined my life. Knocking, my ministry is destroyed. More knocking. Do you know how long it took to build that following? Violent mail slot rattling. But here's where it gets good. Remember Mrs. Martinez from 4B? The sweet old lady who always brings me tamales at Christmas? Well, she's also the admin of our neighborhood Facebook group. And boy, did she recognize Jake from all those viral photos. Within minutes, she'd texted the whole floor. Windows started opening. Phones came out. Someone, I'm pretty sure it was Dave from 4C, yelled, "Hey, isn't that the naked church guy?" Jake froze mid-knock. Another neighbor chimed in. "Oh yeah, the one from the Sistine Chapel photos." Someone else, "Dude, maybe put on a coconut emoji." Mrs. Martinez, my absolute hero, was recording the whole thing while loudly commenting in Spanglish. "Mira, everyone, El Pastor Desnudo is giving us a free show, but with clothes this time, que lastima." The best part? Some genius, definitely Dave, started playing Personal Jesus from their apartment. That's when Jake finally lost it. His face went through more shades of red than my hair dye collection. He made one last attempt at threatening me through the mail slot. "This isn't over, Sarah." But it's hard to sound menacing when someone's playing Depeche Mode and a group of elderly neighbors are critiquing your form compared to your European photo collection. Finally, he stormed off, but not before tripping over Mrs. Martinez's welcome mat and nearly face-planting into the hallway wall. The entire floor burst into applause. I heard someone yell, "Your landing needs work. Better than your handstand in Mykonos, though." That was the last time I saw Jake in person. His Instagram these days is nothing but Bible verses with black backgrounds. No captions, no photos, definitely no coconut emojis. Emma, his pure spirit girlfriend, is now dating a youth pastor from a different church who apparently owns shirts and knows how to use them. Sometimes Mrs. Martinez still brings up that night with El Pastor Loco at building meetings. She says it was better than her telenovelas. Dave made a remix of Personal Jesus with Jake's mail slot rants, but that's probably going too far. As for me, I kept the screenshots, changed all my passwords, and learned a valuable lesson: never date a man in a beret. But if you do, make sure you have good neighbors and a Ring camera. And maybe keep a playlist ready, just in case. A week after the hallway showdown, my phone rang at 2 a.m. It was Jake. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Maybe curiosity, maybe the wine, or maybe just the desire to have the last word. But instead of threats or religious quotes, all I heard was crying. Not the pretty kind you see in movies, the ugly, broken kind that makes you sound like a dying whale. For a moment, I almost felt bad. Almost. So, I said, keeping my voice deliberately light, "Having a crisis of faith, Brother Jacob?" He tried to speak between sobs. "Why? Why did you have to destroy everything?" "Oh honey, I didn't destroy anything. You did that all by yourself. I just helped people see the real you. You know, the one without the cream sweater. Or any sweater. Or anything at all." We're sobbing. I really believed in what I was doing at the church. Really? Which part? The part where you called me a thorn while posing naked at sacred sites, or the part where you preached about modesty while selling subscription content of your artistic freedom? "You're cruel," he whispered. "And you're a hypocrite. Guess my tattoos aren't such a big problem anymore, huh? At least mine are visible with clothes on. By the way, that blessed tattoo on your lower back? Real classy. Very youth minister chic. He was quiet for a long moment, just breathing. Then, I loved you, before everything. No, Jake. You loved your image, your aesthetic, your brand. I was just a prop that didn't match your color palette. He hung up after that. No dramatic last words, no final Bible verse. Just click and silence. I sat there in my dark apartment, staring at my phone, feeling weird. Victorious, yes. Satisfied, definitely. But also kind of empty? Like when you eat an entire pint of ice cream. It feels amazing in the moment, but afterwards you're just sitting there with a spoon and regrets. Don't get me wrong. I don't regret what I did. He deserved every bit of that public humiliation. You can't go around judging people's spiritual purity while your ass is hanging out at the Vatican. You can't shame someone for their appearance while hiding a whole second life. You can't. You just can't. But maybe, just maybe, I went a little nuclear. Like, I could have just sent the photos to Pastor Mike and called it a day. Instead, I chose violence. Full biblical, plague of Egypt level violence. Then again, he did call my red hair a symbol of rebellion. And honestly, after everything, that might have been his worst sin. I never heard from Jake again. His Instagram is still just black squares with Bible verses, which is probably the most honest thing he's ever posted. Last I heard, he moved to another state. Probably for the best. There are only so many churches in Seattle where you can show your face after your bare ass has been mass emailed to an entire congregation. As for me, I'm thinking of dyeing my hair purple. Really lean into that whole symbol of rebellion thing. And maybe get a new tattoo. I'm thinking something religious. Maybe a coconut emoji. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to be cast as the villain in someone's testimony, you might as well make it a testimony worth telling.